We'll talk about the EFL Cup and taking on added importance, but which club does that trophy mean more to? Let us know what you think. 03717 223344. A reminder, there is live golf over on talkSPORT 2 for you this evening. PGA Tour Live. It's the AT&T at Pebble Beach Prime. We saw Gareth Bale out there a little bit earlier on. Lovely swing, right-handed. Didn't expect that, but there you go. All that golf that he's been working on. Lovely swing. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, let's get back to the Carabao Cup. And did you get what I meant a little bit earlier on? Did you get what I meant when I said which club is it bigger for? Let me explain it. I think Newcastle United are going in one direction. Got a huge future. Eddie Howe's done fantastically well. And they get an opportunity here in an insular way, which is so important to the Newcastle United fans, and it means so much to them as a club because they haven't won a trophy for such a long time. We get that. But actually, there is a wider context to it. When you look at them in comparison to Manchester United, I think these two clubs will compete largely for similar qualities of players. In the let me finish my point. In the transfer market, you can say, okay, well, Manchester United spend more at this point in time, but the ability to spend more is there from Newcastle United. If you're in the Champions League, sorry, Darren, to hold you back, but if you're in the Champions League and you go into the summer transfer market next year and you need players, there might be new owners at Manchester United, the best ones available may be going to one of these two clubs, all right? Maybe not the very best, but certainly in a similar tier. It might be the second tier, if you like, but they can compete with one another. And it might be that there is a prospect of both of these clubs suggesting to the world football, best players around, that actually this is a better club for you than the other.
I think, and Martin, I'm sure you'll agree, when we go to cover these games as journalists, either club winning, there is a good story around it, isn't there?
Yeah.
And if Newcastle were to win, all the obvious implications and after the long wait and where they've come from, even some of the negativity, when we talked about the sports washing thing last week, some of that has to be addressed around it. But with United, it's the resurgence of a monster, and I think in a very different way, commercially, from a footballing context.
So you agree? You agree with me? Good to hear.
It's not so much that. I'm just kind of giving you an insight into how when you go into a press box, you think.
Yeah, I think this one, I think it's huge for Newcastle. I really do think it's huge for Newcastle. I mean, 1955 since they last won a domestic trophy. They've won a trophy since, but the trophy they've won, UEFA don't count it anymore, the Fairs Cup. I mean, I think that's terribly unfair because they didn't actually win it as this conglomerate of various clubs, which is the reason.
And they count the Europa Conference League, so come on.
You can count what you like. I think it's West Ham fans that count the Intertoto Cup, but he's clutching at straws. And I just think it is absolutely huge. You could see the atmosphere there the other night. It was balmy at the end of it. It was a lap of honour like you hadn't seen. And up there for so long. The last lap of honour I can remember at Newcastle was when they came second, and it was this desperate lap of honour really, because there was a lot of players applauding the crowd and sort of happy with their achievement of coming second. There was Steve Watson at the back, who was the only local lad in that team, who was in bits, you could tell, because he knew what they'd lost by coming second. He knew what they missed out on. So I think for the area, it is just enormous to do this, and to do it so early, because I don't think anyone really thought Eddie would get it going as quickly as this.
This is my point. I'm glad that both of you agree with me in some way. I really thought I was going to lose this one, but glad to hear it. No, what I'm trying to say is, and you underline it there, Martin, is that yes, it means so much to the fans individually, but the fact that it's happening so soon is a massive sign. It will shock everyone that Newcastle have turned themselves into a winning machine so soon, or at least on the way to doing that so soon. And the other thing is what you mentioned, Darren, when you spoke about the resurgence of a monster. Well, they get to slay that monster in Manchester United. They get to send the sign out that Manchester United aren't on their way back. They might be having a good season, but actually we're the ones that are going to go on to win trophies. It could be a big sliding doors moment, particularly when you think about the next couple of seasons. I think both have the chance to be regular Champions League sides, but that would mean that the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool may be outside of it. Who knows, Arsenal, Manchester City. It's going to be a really tight competition. But actually, I think when you look at these two clubs head-to-head in a very similar position, but for very different reasons, they could both send a big message about what the other team is not.
Yeah, I can understand that. I just think that with Newcastle, winning something is so important. Winning something are the days that, as a fan, you remember all your life. I think of myself growing up watching West Ham, and really everything at Upton Park sort of merges into one big match in the mud against Manchester United that we won in December. I don't think we'd won a home game all season. Then suddenly we beat Manchester United in December. And all of my memories of going to Upton Park sort of merge into that one game. But I can remember every single bit of the 1975 FA Cup final, every single moment of the 1980 FA Cup final, even every moment of the 1981 League Cup final, which we eventually lost in the replay to Liverpool. I can remember all of that. And I think for Newcastle, you've got this, you know, they haven't got a problem with support. They've got plenty of support up there. But you've got this generation of Newcastle fans that are going to go to Wembley, of young fans. And then you've got them. They're Newcastle for life, and they're people that will go to Newcastle, and it is a fantastic day for the city.
Mike, do you think it provides a reference point for the journalists as well? Because those journalists up in the northeast that have covered the club for a long time during the Ashley years, Steve Bruce years, or the Keegan years when things did go well under Sir John Hall, Freddie Shepherd, Lee Charnley, the snakes and ladders, the relegation, the chaos. Winning something for those journalists when we cover clubs, I mean, what does it mean for them?
They are one of those clubs where a lot of the journalists are fans as well, aren't
absolutely. They? If look, I don't think we're giving away any trade secrets here. I would have thought if you were looking at the two clubs where more of the people that are writing about the club who also grew up as fans of the club, I think you would say Liverpool and Newcastle have probably got the highest density of fans of the club that they're writing about.
So that's interesting. Loads of people listening, they all think that everyone in Fleet Street supports West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I'm on everything basically, and so they think there's all these West Ham journalists everywhere. It's just me. It's all me. But but you funnily enough, sometimes you're hard on your own club. Actually, you know, I always find that you're always hard on your own club. But so I'm not saying it leads to a bias, but when that club is doing well, everything around you can tell, you can feel it when you go to Newcastle these days. You can actually feel that place is absolutely buzzing because they've waited so long. They've absolutely waited so long.
I'll tell you one thing before you get to the goal. The one thing I would say, and loads of people say, you media guys, you press guys, you hate our club, you're anti this, anti that. And the one thing I would say, whether it's club level or international level, is that winning is good for business. Winning is actually better for business than losing. Everyone's happy. Everyone wants to buy a newspaper. Everyone wants to talk about their club. Nobody can get enough of their club, or if it's England, if England were to win something. Honestly, winning is good for business. And this whole myth that the pressmen hate XYZ club and want things to go bad for them, and have got an agenda against X. It's absolute garbage.
It's much better for newspapers. Success is much better for newspapers. For media generally, for this radio station, for the TV broadcasters. Success is such a bigger seller than failure.
Could be a huge boost for either of these clubs.